Hello, I'm Fred Grooms, founder of Strengths Development, where we teach students and educators to unleash the power of strengths. In our first segment, we asked the question, why as educators do we even want to worry with educating students about their strengths? Well, first and foremost is because we know that it works. Why does it work? Because 84% of students who can identify their unique personal strength set report being more engaged in school. And engagement in school ultimately means that graduation rates go up. And I know that you and I want to be involved in anything that's going to increase graduation rates. The other thing is that we know that corporate America cares. Corporate America cares because they're the end result of our educational institutions. They want students who can arrive at their places of employment ready to go. And knowing what their strengths are is a key to making that happen. Now, I also alluded to the fact that I think that we're missing the mark in education. Why are we missing the mark? Let's talk about that for a few minutes. First off, I think we're missing the mark because we have rising standards and expectations. Now, I believe that we should have high standard and expectations for our students and our administrators and the school system as a whole. The problem though is that these standards and expectations are so often a moving target. And we know hitting a moving target is really difficult. And we also know that when we're talking about standards and expectations, we're not always talking apples to apples. One state is different than another state. The government is different than those states. We need to figure out how to do this better. And there are a lot of smart people out there working on this, and I'm going to leave that to them. I'm not going to dive into this a whole lot, but we know that this is a problem for us, and we have to work on that. Another one of the problems that we need to work on is the fact that we always spend so much time trying to improve on people's weaknesses. It's what I call the weakness trap. And it's about always trying to fix the worst things about people. It's about remediating people. Now, granted, as a dyslexic, I had to learn to read and write and do math. And those things were really difficult for me. But I was able to do so. But at some point, people kept wanting me to keep on and keep on and keep on. And you know, the reality is not everybody's going to get an A or a B. And I know that has a tendency to really upset some of my fellow educators, but we know it's true. We know that in our own grade books that not everybody gets an A or a B, and it's okay. But people wanted me to keep working at it, and Fred, you can get an A. But at some point, there's a diminishing return there. If I spend so much time trying to get an A in English, I begin to slip a grade in biology or in history, some of the things that I was better at. So focusing in on weaknesses so often leaves people feeling unmotivated, and that's ultimately not what we're after. And I'm going to unpack the weakness trap later on in other segments. Another area I think that we're missing the mark in education is that we think that there's some sort of magic curriculum out there. If we can just come up with the right curriculum, then it's just going to be the thing that's going to soar everybody, and we're going to be able to meet these standards and expectation. Come on, guys. We know that that's not out there. And the other thing is, you know, we know that there are 12, 15 different major theories of education. Everything from Dewey to Montessori to blank slate theory, and now brain theory. Remember the book I mentioned in the first segment by John Medina, Brain Rules, super read. I recommend you get a hold of that. And Medina talks about how our brain works, and he echoes what all these theories in education tell us, that we know not every student learns exactly the same way. And yet, in our education system, we want to teach as though every student learns the same way. It's not working for us, and we know it. Now, I don't live in a Pollyanna world. I don't think that we're going to be able to come up with individualized education for every individual student. It's not going to happen. However, we can make some changes in the direction of allowing students to know what their strengths are, begin to work in methods that help them, experiential education. And when we do that, we're going to do better with our students. Now, I also know this isn't going to happen super rapidly, though we've got to do something, because our society is leaving us behind. Employers need so much more out of us than what we're giving with our students who are coming out. Now, why do we know that this isn't working? Well, one of the big ones is dropout rates continue to increase. Well, every 29 seconds, a student drops out of school. That's 7,000 students a day are dropping out. And 60%, the last study I saw, 60% of those students are in the southeastern United States. This, folks, is a problem for us. Dropout rates. We need to worry about how can we fix that. And I believe one of the best ways to do that is help students identify their strengths, because it increases their engagement, decreases disciplinary problems, increases overall academic performance, and thus graduation rates, instead of going up, will actually drop. Rather, I think I just said that wrong. Graduation rates are going to increase because dropout rates are going to decrease. That's what we're ultimately after. We also know that grades are no particular indicator of how well a student is going to do. If they get really great grades, we think, oh, they're going to do super out there. Not necessarily. Same thing with if they get really bad grades. Oh, they're just going to have a dismal time. Not necessarily. If that was true, I would have never been successful. I didn't do very good in high school. I had to talk my way into college. Remember, that story is on my website at fredgrooms.com if you're interested in hearing that. So grades are not necessarily an indicator of how well a student is going to do. Students don't have any direction when they come out. They don't know what they do because they don't know what their strengths are. They don't know what the industry is asking of them. We've got to do a better job of helping students have some direction. And I think one of the things that's going to emerge as more and more important in our school system is the CTSOs. And all those you in administration, you know what that is. And those programs are really going to become even more important than they are today. And the other reason is, remember that we know that employers say that we're missing the mark. That collaborative study that I talked about earlier in our first segment, over 400 employers were surveyed and they're telling us that we're missing the mark. If you want that big survey, I'll be glad to send that white paper to you. Go to my website, fredgrooms.com, fill out your name and email address, and I'll shoot that out to you. Now, the next thing we need to do is say, okay, we know what we're doing, we're missing the mark. We know why we're missing the mark. Now, I think we need to focus in on 3 keys that are going to help us actually help our students. And we're going to look into those to start with. And the first one of those keys is ultimately education. But you know what? Education is not the key to success. And we'll talk about that more in segment 3. I hope you've enjoyed this. Remember, nobody can give you your strengths, nor can anybody take them away. If you want to know more about me and my programs, go to fredgrooms.com or strengthsdevelopment.com, and I'll see you on the other side. Have a great day.